Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's Dr. Eric Nepute. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever in the world you are today. I am so excited because you have done something that most people haven't done. You've taken the DNA test kit. You've done the Biolimitless Discovering DNA test kit, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let me just tell you, this is a 99.7% accuracy of a test. It is the highest accuracy test that's out there. It measures more SNPs and gives you more real-time actions steps that you can take to improve your health and the well-being of your family than any other type of genetic profile that's out there. And I will tell you, as a functional medicine practitioner for the last 20 years, I don't know how I could possibly help any of my patients with their problems unless I really truly had this genetic test done. And that's exactly what my colleagues are saying as well, is that this test is truly a game changer. In fact, I was sharing this test with some of the doctors and scientists in the Make America Healthy Again campaign. And one of the doctors, who you know very well, at least in America, he's very well known, said, man, every man, woman, and child should have this test done for nothing more than just to understand how to live their life, because that's what this test does. So what I want to do today is I want to show you how to interpret your DNA test results. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go to your app, and in the top left-hand corner of your app, you click the three little bars that are there, and you scroll down. It says download my DNA results. You're going to get emailed to you a PDF report that looks just like this. It's a 198 page report that goes over all the details about you. Now, I'm going to go over through the entire thing today. You can go through this and break it down into little segments, but I'm going to give you a big overview of the report now. So let's look through this. So the first couple of pages is really your table of contents. It tells you what's in there. It talks about, how to read your results. It talks about the DNA results, and then it breaks it down into different categories. So you see, the first category is your physical health. The second is your diet. The next are your vitamins. The next one down here is your health, and your health insights, and how stress affects your health and how sleeping affects your health. And then there's the anti-aging component. Then there's your injury risk component. There's your mental health component, which looks at everything from attention span to your ability to be, higher predisposed for addictions, and are you a night owl or a worrier or a warrior, all those things. It talks about gut health, which is a huge, huge deal. And there's so many genetic issues that people deal with every day from a gut standpoint that can be resolved by understanding this information, because knowledge really is power, but it's taking that wisdom and applying it to your life. That's what's powerful, is taking that knowledge and using it. And then you can look at heart health, and you can look at immunity, your eye health, you can look at skin health function, and muscle health as well. I mean, it's so powerful to understand how your genes work. And what I need you to understand is that human beings, okay, as humans, we each have we have around 25,000 sets of genes. Most genes are the same in all of us, but we have some that are really unique and really specific. So it talks about the 800,000 different genetic components that we measure. Within those 25,000 genes, there's hundreds of thousands of data points in there that tells us a lot of information. So this gives you kind of a summary of how to read your report. Let me blow it up a little bit for you. In the summary, it highlights certain aspects of your health. It talks about normal, abnormal, above normal, less of a risk, more of a risk. Sometimes that part can be confusing to people because of their own understanding of health. But if you click on each one of these, it'll show you more information. Like, for example, my DNA results, this deals with my physical body. So it looks at the muscle power, muscle stamina, O2 usage, my anaerobic threshold, my recovery rate, my muscle mass, injury risk, soft tissue, my lean body mass, and my power to weight ratio. So I have a really good, personally, like, physical genetic predisposition. For me, is really good from a physical standpoint. If you look at the next aspect, this is the diet. So it's carbohydrate response versus saturated fats. You see, my body does not do well with saturated fats at all. My unsaturated fats are beneficial. Um, my protein response, massive benefit for me. So I can already tell from this that I need a high protein diet. I need a high good fat diet. So what should I go for? I should go for a keto, carnivore food plan. So a carnivore keto food plan where I'm eating a lot of protein, where I'm eating a lot of good fats. And I'm having carbohydrates because it says my carbs are okay for me, but they've got to be low glycemic carbohydrates because I have a higher risk for blood sugar issues. So if I'm going to have carbs, it needs to be vegetables. And if I'm going to have fruit, it needs to be berries, low glycemic foods. My own genetic response tells me that. If you go down even further and look at your vitamins, it tells me on page 12 here that vitamin D is normal receptor, vitamin A is normal, vitamin D is normal, magnesium is normal. It's measuring the receptors, not your blood. So it's not measuring like the thermostat of how much is in there. It measures your receptor sites. So if you're low, like for example, I've got an increased risk for B6 issues. Well, if you have low B6, you're going to have low energy. You're not, when you eat carbohydrates, they're not going to convert to usable sugar. My body wants them, but if I don't have enough vitamin B6, I can't eat carbs and convert them into energy. So now I know that from a food plan, optimally for my DNA, I should have a high carnivore diet. I should have a high keto diet. I should eat carbohydrates that are low glycemic, vegetables and berries. But if I don't have vitamin B6, my body can't take the energy from the carbohydrates and turn it into usable energy for my body. So that one's something I have to take every day. I have an increased risk for selenium as well, which by the way, selenium, if you have an increased risk for selenium, that means you have a higher risk for developing cancers. You also have a higher risk for thyroid dysfunction and metabolic weight gain when you have issues with selenium. My omega 3s, it shows it's very beneficial for me because my body wants saturated fats. So it wants a lot of omega 3s. It wants a lot of fish in my diet. It wants a lot of good, healthy fat. By the way, I lose weight when I eat a lot of good fat. When I eat a lot of omega 3s, my body burns fat faster. Calcium risk is normal. It shows that I could benefit from some branched chain amino acids. I take branched chain amino acids every day and I take it before every workout that I do. And I work out a minimum of 3 days a week pushing weights. And I'll explain where that comes from in a moment. I also take choline. Choline is really powerful because there are certain genes that are necessary for the production of choline. Choline is needed for neurotransmitters to be produced so that you can handle stress, you can recover from injuries, your body can digest foods, it can handle certain carbs and gluten as well. So it gives us an idea of what would be beneficial and not beneficial for the individual. Now it talks more, this is about overall health. So it looks at my sensitivities to things like caffeine and my genetic risk for bone mineral density, which if my bone mineral risk is low, that could cause me to have a higher risk of arthritis, degenerative joint disease, bone spurring, any type of joint pain or itis that you could come up with. Some of the most common causes of joint pain is because of the inability to absorb minerals. And if you can't absorb minerals into the bone, you can't absorb minerals into the body very well. And most naturopaths and doctors of natural medicine, like myself, will tell you that low mineral absorption is the root cause of almost all, if not all, diseases. So that means that I must have minerals in my system. So knowing that, that I would have more sea salt in my diet. It shows that I have a higher risk for type 2 diabetes, a higher genetic risk for flus and colds if you have that. And then it gives you insights on your stress. It talks about how does your body respond to stress. So I have a slight response, and I'll tell you it does. Like my body, when I'm physically under stress or pressure, I feel it in my body. My back gets sore, my knees hurt because of the stress. You might have physical pain in your body because of a genetically predisposed disposition from having a gene that stress causes problems. If you look at this as more, it talks about how stress affects your memory. It talks about your body's ability to deal with stress, stress leading to physical symptoms. So I've got that increased stress. Like I told you, when I'm under stress, my physical body hurts more. So if I follow the recommendations laid out for me in my recommendations list, then I'll reduce that substantially. It also talks about stress in my heart. Talks about how caffeine affects stress, and etc. This is about sleep. It talks about am I having a likelihood of being a night owl? My body does better work in the morning, and it does better work when I go to bed earlier at night. So my routine is I try to be in bed by 10:30 every night. And so that I, if I'm in bed by 10:30, 10 or 10:30, I can wake up at 6 o'clock without having too many issues, and I've got the sleep that I need. Talks about my sleep duration. I need longer sleep, so I need that 8 to 10 hours of sleep as opposed to the 6 to 7. Talks about low risk of fragmented sleep, low risk of narcolepsy, which narcolepsy is being majorly diagnosed now, and they're confusing narcolepsy with chronic fatigue syndrome. So if you follow the recommendations under the narcolepsy section in here, that could potentially help you with some of the chronic fatigue that you have as well. It talks about how does caffeine affect my sleep. I don't have an effect of it, but some people who are more sensitive to this, if they have caffeine, let's say a cup of coffee in the morning, that might be the reason why they can't sleep at nighttime. So that's a powerful thing to understand. The next segment is all about anti aging and longevity. It talks about physical decline with age. So, my body has a higher predisposition of as I age, physically looking and getting older. So, what do I have to do? I have to offset that by eating more protein, by exercising properly, by taking the supplements and peptides that are recommended to me based off of my blood test and my genetic test. I have to be in the gym on a regular basis because I have a higher likelihood of losing my physical body mass as I age quicker than others would. And I know that physical strength is more beneficial than almost anything else that's out there for longevity. The stronger you are, the longer you live. Um, Keeping cognition with age is fine. Testosterone with age, I have a slight decline with that. So I have to take certain action steps to mitigate that risk. Bone strength decline with age, I have I'm fine with that. I have a slower decline, so I'm okay with that. Back pain with age, I have a normal risk, but stress with aging, I have a slight risk. So stress as I age is going to be a problem unless I take the right action steps now to help mitigate that. And some of that is going to be breathing exercise, sleeping, eating for my DNA lifestyle, supplementing for my genetic predispositions, uh, uh, exercising the way it should be, and etc. This looks at the risk of injuries. If you remember me saying before, I've got a slight risk for low back injuries. So I've got to do certain stretches and strengthening exercises to offset that. My bone and joint is fine. It's normal, but some people have a higher risk for that are going to be the reasons why they have shoulder, knee, ankles, wrists, fingers, toes, all those little degenerative arthritic things. People that develop these Heberdine's nodes, these little arthritic notches, typically have a predisposition for bone and strength issues as an injury. My Achilles tendon risk is high, so I have to do stretches and strengthening for my feet, calves, and ankles, and I do that on a regular basis. And then my body has a normal rehab response. Some of my patients have a higher response, which means I can push them harder. Some have a lower, which means they're going to take longer to recover. And we can know all that from your DNA and base a recovery program off of that. This is the mental health component. It talks about the attention span. My duration of that is fine. Some that have ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, other symptoms, they're going to have problems with this. My workaholic gene is very high, which puts me at a higher risk of dopamine issues and serotonin issues, which means that I have a higher predisposition for addictions to anything, sex, drugs, rock and roll, healthy choices, bad choices. And if I take the right action steps, I can mitigate my body from having problems with that. If I know what I'm predisposed to, remember your genes, your genes load the trigger of your gun. Your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if I know how to circumvent these issues through these tests, that's the game changer. Talks about caffeine affecting my focus. I have so many, like me personally, caffeine helps me focus. But some people, caffeine can have a negative effect on them. Some of the caffeine you drink, the energy drinks you're taking, the coffee you're having, the Starbucks or whatever, can be the reason why you can't focus and why your production is down. Um, this also talks about the ability to deal with mental tasks. My body's great with that. Night productivity is poor. So I need to gear my life, my exercise, my productivity needs to be more in the morning than it does in the evening time. Some people are the opposite and they need to gear their production schedule off of that. Are you a worrier or a warrior? Well, what a worrier is if the fight or flight response hits you, do you freeze or do you take action? I'm mixed, so my body is going to freeze a little, but it has the ability to take action. You can do certain things to train your body to have the outcome that you want it to have. You're not bound to your genes. But if you know your genes, you know how to mitigate and change your lifestyle. The gut health is a really powerful one. It's really important. So my gluten intolerance, I have a risk for that. And I'm just going to tell you, gluten tolerance, you either have it or you don't. And I know it says mild risk, but it's like being pregnant. You either are or you are not. And I've got a gluten intolerance, so I have to stay away from gluten at all costs. And I need to have methylated B12 and methylated B9 every day. I have a normal risk for gut irritability. I have a normal risk for gum. Your gums have a direct connection to your gut. Your gums and your gut have a direct connection. If your gums are problematic, it's usually because the bacteria is off in your gut. So this can measure the predisposition, why you have periodontal disease, gingivitis, cavities, yellowing, coloring of teeth, all those things, weak gums, all these things can be told by these tests. And it also says for me, caffeine affecting my gut is a low risk. So caffeine's not a problem for me, but the coffee you drink may be an issue for you. The gluten you're having, the bread, the juices, that all may be the way your gums are, may all be the reason why you're having health issues. This is all about the heart. This talks about risk for irregular heart rate. Mine has low to no risk. Genetic risk for high blood pressure is normal, but you may have high blood pressure because of a genetic predisposition. There are genes that determine should you have salt or should you not have salt in your diet. And I'm talking about table salt, not Celtic gray salt, sea salt, etc. Um, Look, there's right here salt causing high blood pressure. I have low risk. But if salt is a high risk for you, then you need to get salt out of your diet. And in some cases, it might even be removing sea salt out of your diet. But don't just remove salt like your doctors tell you to have a low salt diet just because. If you have a genetic predisposition for it, then you should. But I have a low risk. Salt is beneficial for me. Salt gives me energy. Well, how many tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people have been told get away from salt, but that salt might be an energy source for you. But when it's removed, that's a big problem. Test, don't guess, doctors. Very important. Most doctors don't even know there's a gene that can tell you that you're predisposed to salt for high blood pressure. What about LDL and HDL? I have an increased risk of LDL HDL ratio being out of balance. HDL is the supposed good cholesterol, even though it's a high density lipoprotein. It's a protein, not a fat. LDL is I have a higher risk of producing LDL. Most cholesterol is genetic. It's genetic. It's not food related. So if you can get your cells to signal proper, do the right things, like get the right amount of vitamin D, sleep the right way, exercise the right way, live the genetic lifestyle, you're going to have a better risk of reducing your LDL and balancing out the LDL HDL ratio, which should be it should be close to a 1-to-1 ratio. And then it talks about cardiovascular risk of genetics. Mine are fine, but you may have a family that runs genetically high cardiovascular heart attacks. I just saw a patient earlier this week or last week that has a history of high heart issues, but he didn't have the gene for it, but he had the gene for diabetes. And that diabetes leads to heart issues. So you really need to know, like with sniper rifle accuracy, what's going on. Okay, a couple more. This is immunity. This is a big one. All the people that, during COVID, the pandemic, so many folks just didn't get sick. Some people are genetically predisposed to having good immune systems. You should know if you are or not. That's going to be such a game changer for you, and it will empower you of action steps that you can take both to prevent and to, if you will, treat certain illnesses that are out there. Vitamin D benefit for your immune system. Mine's a normal benefit. Some people have a massively higher benefit for this stuff. B vitamins beneficial to my immune system, big time for me. Especially B12 and B9 are really important for me. Selenium is beneficial for me. By the way, if you're deficient in selenium, you have a higher risk of cancer. That's one of the causations we can say if selenium is deficient, cancer could be a side effect. That's a fact. That's been argued and won already in like high Supreme Courts. Look at the PTPN 22 gene and my immune system. There's no impact on that for me. If that gene was problematic, then there's a lot of things in my lifestyle would need to change. Vitamin C affecting the immune system. For me, vitamin C is very beneficial. Why do some people take vitamin C and they don't get colds, flus, and sicknesses, and others take it and they still get sick? It's because of the genetic predisposition of it being a benefit. For me, vitamin C is huge. That's why I take it every day. And then inflammatory reaction response for infections is normal. If you have a hyper response, which some people do genetically, guess what? When you get sick with colds, flus, MERS, SARS, or COVID, you have a higher risk of developing ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's what people die from flus and colds. Knowing that is important. Then you can look at your insights for your eyes. Do you have degeneration with age? Mine does slightly. That's why I use vitamin A and beta carotene. Cataract risk. I have a normal risk. Mine's fine. I do have a higher risk for glaucoma. So I am personally utilizing certain peptides like BPC 157, getting my gut bacteria balanced, making sure that I'm using beta carotene and other nutrients because my body doesn't convert beta carotene. I have a slightly lowered risk of conversion, so I need more of it to ensure my body's ability to use it for my eyes. And I got to keep my sugars under control because if my blood sugars get bad, then my eyes get bad. Also, uh, this is for the skin. People that have increased risk for sun skin damage, aka skin cancers, rare skin aging. I have a little bit, just slightly risk of accelerated aging. People want to know this so that you can do certain things now to mitigate looking and feeling like an old man or an old woman in your younger years. These are the people that, if they have this risk higher, have to be dealing with a good skincare routine from the inside out. Does beta carotene convert? Mine doesn't convert, so I have to take more of it. That's good for the skin, nails, eyes, etc. Gluten related skin conditions. I have a higher risk of skin problems because of gluten, eczema, psoriasis, acne, cysts, boils, all those kind of things. I have a higher risk of that happening in my skin if I eat gluten. You probably do too, but you don't know it unless you take the test. Likelihood of freckles, mine are more than likely. I get freckles. Collagen breakdown is normal, but a lot of people have a higher collagen breakdown, which leads to early aging. Those are the folks that must supplement with collagen, all kinds, all types. Those are the folks that must be taking BBC 157 and collagen peptides and other peptides to put that collagen back to work. So you can see that you can show that how my skin could be a problem with aging. My skin ancestry, mine is of mixed race ancestry. My wife and my middle daughter are both Caucasian ancestry. You can tell a lot about this, but this is not a 23andMe test. I care more about the health insights than I do what region of the world your family came from. It talks about all kinds of dermal risk, and then we move into the muscle component. It talks about myostatin related performance has a potential, which means when you work out, your body has a higher risk of delayed muscle onset soreness. Natural testosterone levels, mine are normal. Exercise induced muscle pain, mine's normal. Stress related muscle pain, mine's normal. And would coenzyme CoQ10 be a risk a deficiency? There's no risk for that. So I produce enough coenzyme Q10. If you have a high risk of this and you take a statin, for the love of God, please get on CoQ10 and start taking ubiquinol now. And then you can go through understanding your action plan. I'll let you do that. But it breaks down action plan. I mean, folks, it's 189 pages. You can go through how to read this, talks about how to understand your different tests, how to read the good, the bad, the ugly with it, talks about the genes, the recommendations, everything you possibly want to know and then some is literally listed on this 189 PDF report that you can get from the Biolimos DNA Discovery Wellness Kit. So look, I know this is a lot of information. I want you to go back, rewatch this, share this with your friends and family. This is a powerful, powerful tool. Now, I want you to use your app. I want you to use your PDF. I want you to use the common sense conversations that we're sharing with each other on a regular basis. Follow the videos. Join our weekly workshops that we're doing, because the more you understand about yourself, the better you can take care of yourself. And if you remember, self-care is the real healthcare, folks. So listen, until we meet again, I'm Dr. Eric Nepute. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Stay smart out there, and I'll see you next time. Be well.